So what's the secret for positioning yourself as a market leader? I've identified a few key elements that you want to start to think about and start to build these into your market. And I've given some examples for each one. So the first one is telling your story, and we talked about that in the web video and making sure it's in your autoresponder sequence. But that really is a great positioning tool, putting you as the market leader. When I talk about all of these different workshops that I went to in my past, and some of the successes that I've had, and some of the people that I've been fortunate enough to meet and interview and all that type of stuff, telling that story, making it part of my story, really positions me as the expert, because now I've got those runs on the board. And you do have that in you, you just need to draw it out, and you might get someone's help to try and draw that out and really start to tell your story. If you look at someone like Tony Robbins, he tells the same story whenever he starts his workshops and things like that. It's all about this down and out kid who was overweight and unhappy with life and was down in the dumps, and then he had his breakthrough and he ran along the beach and wrote down his goals and got really clear on what he wanted to do, and the rest is history, and he changed his life. It's that rags to riches. It's that hometown boy, small hometown boy makes good. There's a few different story elements that you can look at. In fact, there's a great book you should have a look at. It's by Robert McGee, and it's called Story. And it talks about what are the different core stories. There are only a few different styles of story that have sort of echoed throughout the ages, and pick what your story is. Are you a David versus Goliath type story? What's let's say Willows, for example. There are Virgin's doing it really well. They're coming out with the Virgin gyms, and they're saying, it's what is the Virgin story? It's all David versus Goliath. It's all, I see this industry that is being underserved and they're getting rolled. They're doing it with the gyms, they're doing it with the mobile phones, and they're coming out and going, we're going to offer something different. We weren't happy with what these people were providing, so we thought, well, we can do it better, and that's why we're here, and we're providing, no contracts for our mobile phones or no contracts for our gyms, that type of thing. That's their story. It's that David versus Goliath, us versus them. But there are a whole lot of different stories you can find. So find your story and then start to tell it. I tell my story at the start where, and it's just focusing in on the parts of that story. Like what was my story at the start? My story was I had some good successes early on, but then I got frustrated. I started attending all of these workshops. I started digging a whole lot of holes, and that got me frustrated, because I started, a lot of entrepreneurs really connect with that, because you find entrepreneurs will just jump from one opportunity to the next. So that's part of my story. And then what was my breakthrough? It's almost like, I had a little bit of success, then it was really, really hard. Then I had my breakthrough when I understood the way traffic worked, and that's when things started to take off. So that's like I'm showing you the way that I craft those stories. Then we've also got interviews are another great way to position yourself as an expert. A little bit counterintuitive. Someone thinks that, if I'm interviewing the expert, it makes the expert look great, but it doesn't necessarily make me look great. But when I first got into the internet marketing space and we started setting up Melbourne SEO services, I started to interview the likes of Rich Sheffrin, Ed Dale, Yannick Silva, some of the biggest names in internet marketing. I got to interview them through some connections and things like that, and it really positioned me. I got the halo effect that rubbed off on me. Now it shows that I'm sort of moving in these circles, and that then starts to rub off on me, and before you know it, now people are contacting me, asking me to do interviews with them. And it all started off with podcast interviews. So check out podcastinterviews.com. It's got over 35 interviews, hour long, zero pitch, no opt-in. You don't even have to opt in. Just visit that website and you'll just see me interviewing tons of these different experts, trying to get all of their best stuff. And when I interview someone, I'm not one to sit there and tell me your story of your life, and they spend the first 45 minutes of the interview telling me all about their story. I'll do the research first, tell the story for them, so that way that piece is gone, and then I just start asking the questions that I want answered. And it's a great way as well for me to get to get close and work with some of these guys, it opens some amazing doors. I'm on their radar. It's almost like I'm getting private consulting from them that I don't have to pay for. And the way that I position it with them is I'm going to help them get exposure to my market. So that's what it's all about. I'm helping them get exposure to my market. Next thing as well, this is what experts do. They pick a side. Oftentimes it's good to say something controversial or take a hard line on something and just stand up and you say, this isn't good enough, or this is the way things are done. So a good example of that in the stock market niche, it helped sort of positioning with Stuart, my business partner at the time, and we got him to come out and basically say that indicators are crap. Like a lot of people, when they're analysing stock market charts, apply indicators and, which indicator's perfect and what's going to get you the best entry and what's going to get you the best exit signal. And we just came out and said, it's all crap. Because what indicators do is they analyse the underlying stock market price. All it's doing is a mathematical equation on the stock market chart. So really the most important thing is the chart itself, not the indicator. Look at what the chart's doing, because all the other stuff is just interpretations on what's happening to that underlying chart. Moral of the story, we took a very hard line and said that indicators are crap, don't worry about using them, just focus on price. And we did that by design because it created a discussion. And some people were outraged, some people agreed. We just created this stir, and it created a lot of attention that ended up coming on us. So it's good to pick a side. The other thing, experts run events. So where you can, whether you get on some sort of speaking tour, or you get someone else to interview you, or this may or may not suit you and your business. Some people don't like to do that, but putting yourself in that limelight really can help position you to be the expert. And I'll show you how to do that with press releases in the next session. Make sure you document your results, which I've been talking about all the way through here. Creating your own language is another one really good for positioning you as the expert. So when I use my autoresponder sequence and we're speaking to my stock market guys, I'll talk about the TYTP, and we talk about the MPSG, and we talk about, these are all acronyms of our product, where they know what they are, and it's almost like we have our own language, and they'll email me through my customer support using my own language. So that really positions me as an expert, because it's like we've got our own little language and we're talking our own language together. So that works really well. And then obviously anything that you can do to help get your content syndicated. So whether it's through media, public speaking, whether it's through article distribution, do whatever you can to make sure that you get featured in and references and things like that. So that's what it's all about. We're positioning you as an expert.